Okay, we are up to project number 2, which is going to be the riveted lap seam. Setting my safety glasses aside there. When I look at this, I'm going to determine that it says it wants one piece after the final dimensions, which is going to measure 6 inches by 6 inches, using a 3/4 inch lap and 3 rivets. We're going to mark the rivet holes 1/2 inch from the end of the sheet. This is just discussing the seam and your accuracy, again, plus or minus a 1/16 of an inch for the project. On the next page then, what you're going to look at is you're looking at 2 pieces, the left-hand piece and the right-hand piece, and they are going to measure 6 inches by, if you turn the page again, 3.5 inches on each piece there. So those will have to be cut out. We need 2 of them cut, and I've got them right here in my hands, ready to go. What we first of all have to do, if we look at the dimensions, we need 6 inches tall by 3.5 inches wide, which is not given on this particular plan. You have to turn the page for that. We need 2 pieces. It says 2 pieces, the holes are to be drilled, and the part turned over as a matched part, meaning I can flip them no matter which way the holes should line up. They should be interchangeable parts like Henry Ford had in the Model T. So looking at this particular plan, you can see that the center of the first and the bottom hole and the third hole have to be 1/2 inch in and 1/2 inch down from each piece, and the third hole has to be 100% directly in the center, which therefore, if it was 6 inches, half would be 3 inches. So we're going to do that utilizing the piece. I have taken the time to cut them already. So we got our 6 inch width in the shear by our 3.5 inch. It's piece 1, and piece number 2, 3.5 inches by 6 inches there yet again in that part. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the piece and we're going to scribe the 1/2 inch mark using the edge of the table. Again, the scribe settings that we discussed in the previous project. And we'll do that on both parts. The next thing we're going to do is mark the 1/2 inch marks that are in from the edge. So we're going to come down with our 1/2 inch scribe. Again, if you like, use the edge of the table. It seems to help. And we'll mark that on both of them. 1/2 inch down and 1/2 inch down again. So that piece, both of those are complete with your outer 2 holes. Now we got to find the dimension for the center hole at the 3 inch mark, exactly half of the height of the project there. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to take our tape measure or our square. We can use either or, whichever you prefer. And we have to come up on that 1/2 inch line that we previously marked and mark our 3 inch dimension here, right on the button, right where it belongs there. And we'll do that on both pieces. Same with this one here. Right on 3 inches, we'll mark our piece. Once we have that complete, we are just about ready to drill our holes, but we're going to use our scratch awl to make a slight indentation, which I've already done on this particular piece. So on the marks, we're just going to tap it slightly with our hand on a piece of 2x4 or something like that, so we're not damaging the tables or anything like that that might be useful for a customer. So piece 1 is complete, and then we'll finish the hole markings on part number 2, right on the points with that. Once we have that completed, we are going to use the drill, and we are going to pop the holes in the locations. Remember, we're 1/2 inch up and 1/2 inch in, and then directly 100% right in the center. So let's slide that up out of the road. And part 1, hole 1, hole number 2, and hole number 3. And we're going to do that for both parts. For time's sake, I'm just going to do it to the one because I already have them completed on the second piece right here. The exact same thing. So again, like I was saying, two pieces, the holes must be drilled and the part turned over to match. So as you can see, we can line the holes up this direction, we can flip it, we can line the holes up this direction, and as well, if we put them face to face, we can line the holes up that direction. If we turn the page then, it gets into the riveting portion of the project. Notice the 3.5 inch part on top, the 3.5 inch part on the bottom, and we're going to sandwich them together using the 3 rivets. I will generally try to hide my scribe marks there under the finish if at all possible. So we're going to give that a shot here. In order to install the rivets, we need to use a rivet gun. This is the rivet. It's basically a nail that pulls up in, and then it will expand the material and pull it in until it's taut. There's some different sizes of rivets that can be used. Today we're going to be using the 1/8 inch rivet, and they come in different grip ranges, different materials, aluminum, steel, stainless steel, etc. on the market. So once we have our holes drilled, we're going to take the two pieces, slide the rivet in the tool, the rivet gun here, get it through the first piece, and they can be somewhat taut, they should be tight, and then slide it through the second piece, being careful not to cut yourself in any way, until they're sandwiched in there like that. After we have that completed, we try to line up our holes somewhat so they're in the area of where that needs to be, and you just simply squeeze the handle once all the way down, and then if you go to the second time, notice it slid up on that item and then it pulled in. So then we reset and we finish it off one more time, and it breaks that nail. Oops, fell out the other end. Breaks that nail off, or that ram there, pulls it out and pops it off, hence the name Pop Rivet in the design there. So we're going to do that 2 more times with our project here. That one seems to line up pretty good. I may have to just fine-tune some of these just a little bit. The holes. Again, sandwiched in, everything tight and taut. You don't want to have gaps between your material. You don't want to have bubbles in between them when you make that rivet. And then go ahead and squeeze it once, twice. Sometimes it takes a third time, and they should pop off there. And again, the last rivet, you'll notice there's just a little bit of a, I don't know, I want to call it a burr in there from the drilling procedure, so I'm just going to chase that through one more time in there. Still very, very taut and tight on both sides. And we're going to, again, take that rivet, install it into that port, put it in the gun, and tighten that seam up. 1 click, 2 click, and off she goes. And there we should have our completed pop riveted seam for this particular part of the project. Now let's check and see if our dimensions turned out. Again, it said it wanted to have a final dimension of the piece, measured 6 inches in width. Notice how the parts are lined up on each edge, same down here, by a final dimension of 6 inches in your plus or minus 1/16. And this one turned out that it is 6 1/16, so that would be an acceptable part for sheet metal. Some areas where you would use this seam would be if you have to maybe make a repair, you maybe changed out a ductwork for a remodel, removed a duct, and you need to cover a hole, you can use some pop rivets and some materials to make that seam.